If you are interested in long form content, I dropped a sales podcast on the channel yesterday. I go in depth talking about how I got a job in software sales with absolutely no experience, my background, my story. You'll see a new side of me. I talk in depth about how I grew my income from $50,000 a year to over $40,000 a year. All things cold calling, all things communication, all things best practices in sales. So I'd really appreciate it if you go check that out. In today's video, we're talking about 5 things every salesperson needs to know. I'm really excited about this list, and I think each of the 5 are going to be intriguing to you and get you to think about sales in a new perspective. Before we get into the 5, subscribe to the channel now if you haven't already. We just hit monetization on the channel, so thank you so much for your support. And if you're new here, make sure to crack that like button. All that means is smash the like button now. It takes a second, so go ahead and do it now. When we think about sales, just so you know who I am, I'm in software sales. I started as a sales development representative. I made over 40,000 cold calls on that headset. I've been in sales for 3 years. I've recently promoted to an account executive. My company went public this year, so a lot of exciting things are happening, and I'm committed to helping you grow as a salesperson, get your money right, and achieve your success sooner rather than later. And it starts with these daily sales training videos. And the first thing you need to know, that every salesperson needs to know, is that quarterly quotas are incredibly stressful. If you're trying to get in sales, trying to find your dream sales job, or if you're already in sales, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When I promoted from sales development representative, my quota was on a monthly basis, having to hit pipeline generation targets. Fairly easy. When I promoted to an account executive, all of a sudden I'm in a revenue producing role, and I'm metriced on a quarterly basis. I'm still ramping. I'm 3 for 3. I became an account executive Q4 2020. I've closed $7,000 Q4, $88,000 Q1, and already $60,000 Q3. So I'm 3 for 3. I'm still ramping. The numbers periodically get bigger. All of a sudden you wake up and you look at your computer screen. This is my office right here. And you look at your screen and it says your quote is $150,000 of net new business quarter over quarter. 150 Q1, 300 total Q2, 450 Q3, 600 Q4. That's $600,000 of net new business that you are generating. It's incredibly stressful, and the biggest thing you need to know is you may find success when you look at the next quarter out and the subsequent quarter after that. If you don't have pipeline generated, you're gonna walk into the quarter, it's almost like walking into a battle without a spear. Think about the Roman Colosseum when those folks walk in and there's tigers, they don't have shields. I was watching Gladiator the other day and you see these guys going with just a sword. They're super outmatched, and that's like in sales. If you go into a quarter with low pipeline, you're gonna have a tough time, and it's incredibly stressful. I'm someone that derives a lot of my self-worth and my identity from my performance at work. So when I'm not doing well, it impacts my life, both on the field, both off the field, in work, out of work. So it's really stressful, especially if you're not finding success. Fortunately, I've hit my quota for the last 2 years straight, so I haven't had to deal with that. But it does feel very adverse when you miss your quota. So if there's any takeaway here, it's gonna be stressful, and it should push you to work even harder. The second thing you need to know is that you are paid based on performance in sales. A lot of people get into sales because it's big money. You can grow your income. And of course, on the podcast, I talk about exactly how I grew my income from $50,000 less than 3 years ago to over $140,000 at this moment in time as a 25-year-old guy. The beautiful thing about sales is that your ability to move up in an organization, your ability to reach your dreams is dictated based on your performance. Unfortunately, in sales, all you're doing is communicating with other organizations if you're B2B, and you can get by solely on hustle, solely on work ethic. You, of course, need to be able to talk. You need to be able to convey the value. Ultimately, at the end of the day, my edge in my career, and if you ask anyone in my company, they say, look, that guy works really hard. That's the bottom line. Is I realized early on I wasn't the most naturally talented. I didn't have the best talk tracks. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no experience. So what did I do? I said, I'll make more calls than anyone else. You do that over a long period of time, and all of a sudden you start to hit your quota, you start to get in accelerators, and you start to move up in your career. And when you have lofty goals like myself, I plan to be a CEO one day. The best path to get there, in my opinion, is through sales, because sales is such a critical function to each organization that I will move up each role I'll move up to the next account executive, I'll promote into the enterprise org, and then eventually when I'm capped out, I'll go into leadership, and that would be my trajectory to management because I've been on the front lines, I've done it, so that when I'm telling everyone, look, we gotta go get these numbers up, we gotta get these dials up, they'll say, look, Trent, you were on the front lines, you know what you're talking about. So sales, you are paid on performance. If you're driven by money, sales is a great place to be. What I will tell you, and the advice I was giving someone today is, a lot of people come in wide-eyed and say, oh, I want to make all this money. This is my OTZs. I need to close this much revenue to make X, Y, Z. If you're doing it for the money, you're going to burn out and it's not going to be sustaining because that can't be your sole motivator because that's an extrinsic type of focus. You need to be intrinsically motivated. So motivated by fulfilling your potential, feeling good about working hard, feeling like you're contributing to the whole. It's all intrinsic. So that's where I'll leave that one at that. Number 3, one of my favorites is that sales is an infinite pursuit worthy of mastery. When we think about the skill of sales, sales has been around forever. You're in sales whether you like it or not. I'm of course in sales, and even if you're not a formal salesperson on your LinkedIn, and by the way, if you're on LinkedIn, go ahead and go connect with me now. If you have any questions, if you just want to reach out, drop some support, say whatever, connect with me on LinkedIn, let's join networks, maybe we can help each other. Sales is a skill worthy of mastery. Sales has been around since the dawn of time. Everyone is in communication. I read a stat the other day that there's over 5.7 or something million official salespeople in the US. And sales is a skill that the better you get, the more that you can earn. The better you get, the more fulfilling your job will be. And when you first start, it's really difficult. That's why we talk to SDRs. That's why we talk cold calling. Pipeline generation and prospecting is the foundational skill of that. And sales is a skill that's worthy of mastery because if you work on your craft each and every day, it's going to pay dividends 10, 15, 20 years from now. They say spend the first 10 years of your career getting really good at your skill, and then the next 10 years really capitalizing. Fortunately, in sales, it's the best of both worlds because you can make a lot of money throughout the process. So this is just a reinforcement that sales is never going away. It's always going to be important. And if you figure out how to do it now, if you figure out how to go generate revenue for organizations, you will always have a job and you will always be valuable in the marketplace. Fourth thing you need to know is that in sales, this can be a pro and it can be a con. You essentially set your own hours. At least that's been my experience. You have a lot of autonomy, so you are your own boss in a way. Some people may have managers that are a bit more micromanaging than others. Ultimately, I decide when I wake up, I decide when I log in, I decide when I leave. And of course, you can be the one to show up late. You can show up 8, 9, but it all comes down to, like we said in number 2, your performance. You don't need to sell your soul. You don't need to work 1,000 hours a week to have success in sales. You can work however long it takes to get the job done because you are on a quarterly quota basis. So that gives you flexibility to say, I'm going to take a vacation the first week or 2 of the quarter. Hey, at the end of December, not a lot of business is getting done. I'm going to take a vacation those last 2 weeks. And I'm not saying you should go take vacations. I don't take vacations very often. What I'm saying is that is an aspect of sales that you need to know is that you can set your own hours in a way. You can decide when you want to really have the pedal down to the metal. You can decide when you want to take your foot off the gas a little bit and say, I'm going to hang back a little bit. And that's the beauty of sales, and that's what I love about it so much. The fifth and final thing that you need to know about sales is that you need to have fun. Ultimately, you need to enjoy what you're doing. And if you don't love the process, then you're not going to be able to sustain the level of effort and output. And having true passion and enjoying what you're doing, enjoying finding solutions and helping people in their businesses, that will be fulfilling, that will be rewarding, and you will get paid for it in the process. So at the end of the day, have fun. It's very easy to feel super competitive. Many people come in and say, I want to kill everyone. Everyone's worried about everyone else's metrics. And of course, that's important. Performance does matter because that's how you get paid. Ultimately, you need to have fun with it. Your sales are fueling your life. The ability for you to go out and execute is giving you the life that you want. And if you're not giving it everything you got, if you're not having fun, that will show. And it's honestly being selfish to the people around you in your own potential. People say, I've gotten this question multiple times in the last couple of days, how do you avoid burnout? Everyone's feeling burnt out. The reason you feel burnt out is because you don't know what you want and you're not committed. And I know you're thinking, Trent, the tip was have fun. It's all gonna come full circle. You need to be committed, you need to be all in, you need to be obsessed with what you're doing, and anything less is a waste of your potential, and you're being selfish to those around you in the world as a whole, because you deserve it to yourself and everyone around you to give it your best, to maximize your best, to accumulate all you can, and then ultimately give and help all that you can. And if you're not going for it, that little voice in your head that says, hey, this is what I want, many of you are probably scared to go for it because you're worried, hey, what if I try as hard as I can and it doesn't happen? That can be a really scary feeling, and I'm here to tell you, you need to go for it, you need to have fun with it, and the only way you're going to achieve these audacious dreams, becoming the top salesperson, going to President's Club, promoting, making $200,000 a year, making $500,000 a year, whatever it may be, you need to vocalize it, you need to write it down. Something I write down frequently is, I will become the CEO one day. I'm not necessarily sure if it will be Qualtrics, but it will be a public organization at some point in the next 15 to 20 years. That's my dream, that's my goal. I write it down. I'm having fun each and every day in the process. I put a lot of pressure on myself, but ultimately that's what it takes to get to where you want to go. So thanks so much for watching this video. Thanks so much for your support. Appreciate everything, and I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to hammer the like button if you haven't already. Bye.